Okay, and we are on. Look at that. Look at that. We're live again. Hi, Lori. So, for
Hi.
anybody that's new here, this is Lori, my good friend. She's a fantastic psychic medium. I'm just gonna try and there we go. I just because I don't like. I have got. I have got some very high tech devices and a really low tech laptop. It's this
That's all.
laptop. I'm telling you, I bought this laptop in 2011 and it
Ah,
just does not like my high-tech equipment. My microphone, my headphones doesn't like it. It's just my laptop likes to be in the old days. This is
well,
Windows.
let's manifest you a new one then.
Yeah,
Let's manifest it.
this is
Let's get one.
Windows 7, and it doesn't even like to do virtual background on Zoom. So that's
Be
so
let's let's do that. Let's think about this. Let's manifest it. Let's
let's
manifest it to
manifest it.
come.
And I have
Put
uh,
it out there.
my graphic tech computer is
Hmm.
sitting over there, but I've lost my camera. It's in storage somewhere. I don't know where my camera is. So
So
it's
I
like,
guess that's a message from the universe telling you that you don't need to do camera work right now. So I
yes,
know you want to
or
get your
yes,
camera to make money to get a laptop, which go hand in hand and hand in hand,
like,
but that's not what they want you to do.
no, I wish the universe would just come up and tell me, this is what you're doing. Stop making me guess. I
Mhm.
don't want to, I am so tired of the guessing. I love you,
You know,
universe. I really do. But come
you know
on.
what's really funny? So I got a couple things to say. The reading I had today, the lady, the first question she asked me is, "What is my purpose?" And I was like, okay. So we are so stuck asking what is our purpose in our life. And we dwell on what is our purpose. And we feel that we walk through life and we go, I haven't served a purpose to anybody. So I said to her, what do you give the most of in your life? And she's like, I don't know. And this woman, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul, very hard, very like hard, very gruff, right? She was, I don't know. And I said, I'm going to tell you what you give the most of love. You still have your daughter living with you and your granddaughter. You pick your granddaughter up every day and you take care of her and you become a childlike. So, you know what your purpose is? Your purpose is to be you and to show love to one another, to show love to everybody. So,
Yes.
when I said, ask the universe, she's like, the universe has turned against me. I said, no, he hasn't. If the universe had turned against you, you wouldn't be where you're at.
Hmm.
And we got to stop focusing on what is our purpose because we ask that and we go by what other people tell us. You serve no purpose to me. You do this, nothing to me, right? So you take those words and you go, "Oh gosh, I'm nothing or anything. I have no purpose here." When we should be taking those words and turning them around and saying, "My purpose is to forgive you," or "My purpose is to let you go."
Hmm.
My purpose is to love you because you don't have to love somebody. You don't. You don't have to love
No,
somebody that's hurt you
that's right.
ever, ever.
That's
You don't
right.
have to forgive them because I always use that example. You think you know, do you think I forgive people that have really, really hurt me and damaged my spirit? No, I don't because that's given them a gift. What I do is I release it from me. I can talk about it. I can
Hmm.
be okay about it. I don't have to forgive you. They're gone to me. They're already dead to me.
Hmm.
Well, maybe not so much dead because then they'll come talking to me.
Not, yeah,
But
not, not in a
but
literal sense.
she was like, "What is my purpose?" So she's retired. She had the same job for 37 years and she loved her job. And I said, here's the issue with that is that you don't understand because you're bored. You may have hated your job, but you
Mhm.
miss the people in it. You miss the drama. Sometimes we just need a little drama in our lives.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And there is that, the seven stages of grief.
Right. And exactly. And
It
she's
doesn't
definitely
mean,
going through that.
yeah, and it doesn't mean the loss of your partner, loss of your pet. It doesn't mean loss of your
Everything.
friend. It means the loss of your car, the loss of your job,
So
the
your
loss of,
job.
what if you lose
Yep.
your hair? Have a grieving period over loss of your hair, a limb,
We
anything.
we do have ceremonies in my culture that do grieve the loss of our hair or grieve the loss of
Yeah,
something.
Yes.
And you always replace that with something new and better
Hmm.
because we're spend so much time concentrating on what we're not. And we say to the universe, I am not this. And the universe goes, okay,
I am not my hair. I am not my arm.
right.
I am not
But
my illness.
right. When we say no, they filter no, not, or never. So when we're asking the universe for things, if we're saying, I do not want to be sick, guess what you just said to them? I want to be sick. Universe is like,
Yes.
perfect. Sick is rest to them.
Hmm.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Hmm.
So if you say, I want to be well, please keep me well. Please keep me healthier
Hmm. Or I
than what I
am
used to
healthy.
be.
I am
I
well.
am healthy. I am
Yes.
well. So,
Because if you
you
say
know,
want, then you're always in the process of wanting.
and you can also say I receive.
Yes.
I'm open to receive. I'm
Yes.
open to receive love. We also have to be open to receive some kind of dark, right?
Yes.
Because we always know that our light has to overcome that. So when we say I'm open to receive what lessons I've meant to learn,
Exactly.
that's deep.
Exactly. And when I try to explain that to people, and if they're just not getting it, why should I allow the dark in? Okay, so picture this: you have a tomato plant. You want to stick that tomato plant outside in the garden because it's now 3 inches tall. You want to stick it outside in the garden, but it flops over. Oh, why does it flop over? Because there's no resistance.
Right.
And so, in order for that tomato to have that straight up point, you have to have that resistance for it to work against. How do we build muscles in our arms and our backs and our legs? From resistance. And so, when you allow in the dark, and we're fighting with our, not fighting, but we are working with our light, that's resistance, which means we're
Hmm.
growing. Yeah,
Hmm.
I totally agree
So
with you there.
and so we ended up coming up with a plan for her for 2025. And she's bored. And I said to her, you need to find what brings you joy. The word happiness is overrated. Every single person that I do a reading for, the one thing they want is happiness. And I always say to them, happiness is overrated. Why don't you go for joy instead?
Yes.
Because happiness, people put in this bubble and they go, I'm not happy. Well, of course you're not happy. Can't be happy all the time. But if you sum up the number of joy or the amount of joy that you have, that's true happiness. Replace a lot of faith in the word happiness. And
Hmm.
like, if I'm not today, I didn't get the new car that I wanted. I mean, just be joyful I got a new car
Hmm.
rather than being, oh, I'm not happy. I'm just not happy.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that. We all go through life when we're not happy. So I was like, let's concentrate on the moments, joy. And the more joy you bring into your life, the happier your spirit is. You're here,
Hmm.
your spirit's happy that they're here. They're happy that you're doing what you want to do with your life.
Hmm.
If you bring joy is instantaneous. So let's bring in joy. And that's what I was explaining to her. Let's make moments of joy. So she went away and I'm actually pretty proud of her because I said, just get online and just look at something that you want to do. And I told her what I saw her doing. And it sounds really crazy and weird what I actually saw her doing, but it's going to make her joyful.
Hmm.
She doesn't even want to make money. She says, I make enough money. And when people say that, like, I make enough money, then they want to do something that's going to help their heart and bring
Yes.
joy.
Yes.
So that by the end of the reading, she was like, okay, I'm good now. And I was just also talking before we came on here about her daughter and how her daughter was stuck about not finding a person in life that brings her joy, or a man in
Hmm.
particular, a boyfriend or husband, and how she's been single for 2 years now. The last couple of people have betrayed her and cheated on her, or what have you.
Yeah.
And she wants to know, like, when is she going to find that person? And I said she has to learn, like, what is it about her? Like, what is she doing wrong? Is basically what she'd asked me. What is she doing wrong? And I said, there's really nothing she's doing wrong. She just needs to step back and go, what is it about myself that what about myself that's attracted to these men? Because you attract what you vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're vibrating really way down here, you're going to get way down here. Most
Mm-hmm.
of us as women vibrate already up here, but we usually lower our vibrations to meet other people's vibrations.
Mm,
So we'll lower our vibration here because we think that's what we want. And we keep going to that word lonely. I'm
yes.
lonely.
And that,
And that
you,
brings us down.
yes. And you would think with you bringing your energy down that you've got lots to spare. You don't.
You
When
don't,
you
because
lower yourself, that is exhausting because you're not
it
being who
really
you were supposed to
is.
be. It's so
No,
exhausting.
you're not being your true authentic self to you. The only person you have to impress is yourself.
Yes.
That's it. And you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to say, I don't like that. Or, you know, so I had said to her, there's three things to do. One is she can keep continuing to be who she is. There's nothing wrong with the way she is. There's nothing wrong with it.
Hmm.
But she can keep being that way. Or two, she could change it. So she could change whatever it is that she thinks is attracting to a man. Or
Hmm.
three, she could just let it go and move forward. So there's three things. So I know that the two things sound the same, but they're not. The
Hmm.
first one is like she could keep going the way she's going. That happens when people say to me, he's not my type. And I always say, well, how's your type working for you?
True.
Right? Because seriously, how is it you have a type in your head and you've only dated people who are your type and none of them have worked out? So how's that working for you?
Yeah,
So if you keep
exactly.
thinking the way you're thinking, you're going to continue to get what you're getting. So you can continue to keep it and keep moving on and keep in that mindset.
Hmm.
Second one is you can change it. You can say, okay, what is it about myself that I want to change? You can do an inventory of what don't I like. When you say what don't I like, it's based on what you don't like, not what your friend told you or your ex told you or your mother told you. It's about what you don't like. So you take an inventory, you go, okay, what don't I like about myself? Am I too like for me? I don't like that I'm very harsh in judgment sometimes because my gut tells me boom, so I make a judgment. I
Hmm.
admit it, that's me, but that's not what other people have told me. If somebody else said, "Lori, you're really harsh judgment sometimes." Okay, it's true.
All right.
Whatever.
Thanks for pointing
Okay,
that out.
but so thanks for pointing that out for me. I'm going to change it because I want to change it because I've noticed that within myself.
Yes.
Is it really an issue? Probably not. But because that's what I'm bringing out, I'm going to change that and look at things a little differently. The third one is you can change, like you can move it on. You can get rid of it and move on. So instead of saying I'm going to keep it, keep doing what I'm doing and getting what I'm getting, or I'm going to change it and put something else in its place, I can say I'm just going to get rid of it, let it go, move on. Meaning I don't need it anymore, don't want it anymore, see you bye.
Hmm.
So we just got to figure out what one's going to work for you. Nothing
Hmm.
wrong with keeping it, nothing wrong with changing it, nothing wrong with letting it go. So letting it go kind of means like, okay, so I've isolated the fact that I'm very judgmental. Okay. So I could let that go forever and never have that again. What am I going to bring in its place though? If I
Hmm.
change it, I'm bringing something else in going, what am I going to change this with? So does that mean I become more empathetic? Does that mean how I look at people differently? When I let it go, I never bring it back again. So
Yeah.
certain things you might want to keep or you might want to tweak a little bit. I don't know if that makes
Yes.
any sense to anybody out there. But when I had mentioned it, the woman was like, that made a lot of sense to her. And she made a lot of sense to her daughter. And it's like when you change something inside of you, it has to be what you feel, not what
Exactly.
somebody else tells you. Like
Yes.
I talk a lot I think you've been at an event of mine when I talk about being selfish. And I always say, this is the time to be selfish.
Hmm.
And selfish is taking care of my ish. And my ish is my spirit. I'm
Yes.
taking care of me. So I
Yes.
am going to be selfish. I want to be selfish. I want to take care of me.
Yes.
as opposed to being selfless. That doesn't
Ye-
sound great at all.
Selfless. Yeah, selfless. And I mean, we've all heard, well, some of us have heard, there's no unselfish good deed.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's always give and take. Uh, Now, before we started recording, we were talking
Mhm.
about,
Uh-oh.
um, I don't know if you want to bring this back up,
Sure. Between the
narcissists.
twin flames. Oh,
About the
I
ooh,
love narcissists. Love them.
I
Love
I
narcissists.
love sitting back and watching the dynamic. So if you don't get who a narcissist is, if you can't pick the narcissist out of the crowd, then you're probably one of the
Mm.
flying monkeys.
Yeah.
And so this is what I learned. Oh man, I got tagged really, really bad by somebody a couple of years ago. Was it back in June of 2020? Oh, it was devastating for me. And I thought, I am going to go into every situation and I am going to pick out, you are the narcissist in the crowd. And I know we shouldn't label people, but you have to be on your guard. What?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know.
It. I love narcissists. I tell you why. I worked at a place. I actually worked at a government job, and it was mm, there was a lot of people that were narcissists there. Some of our clients were narcissists, and they had the control. And I knew that they were narcissists because they would say, like, other workers would say, this person is a narcissist. And I'm like, I love narcissists and assholes. Those are my two favorite people in the world because you, I have the control over that. I had a gentleman call me, biggest narcissist in the entire world, screaming and hollering at me because he was going to take me to court and sue me because I'm not letting him do X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
I said, okay, wonderful. I'm not letting you do X, Y, and Z. Go ahead, call.
Hmm.
And I hung up on him. And he
Hmm.
calls me back again and he goes, you hung up on me. I said, yeah. And I thought you were calling the police on me. Do you want to know the
Yes.
address of where I'm at right now? Because they
Hmm.
can come. And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm right across the street from the police station. So go ahead, call them. They'll be here in 10 minutes. But are you still going to get to do X, Y, and Z? Probably not. Because what
Hmm.
I'm telling you, you can't do it. It's because you can't do it. It's not because I'm doing something against you. And he was like, oh, he goes, well, you'll be talking to my lawyer. I said, great. Give the lawyer my extension.
Hmm. Yeah, the
And he was
disarming.
like,
They.
really? And he was like, yeah. So went through, he called my boss. My boss was like, she just told you what exactly I'm going to tell you. So he called me back and he was like, um, I'm not going to apologize to you. And I'm like, I don't expect you to. I said, once you show your spots, I don't expect you to hide them.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was like, I can't believe you speak to me that way. And I said, I can't believe you speak to me that way. I said, so if you want the respect, you need to respect me. And I
Yeah.
tell you, every single time he called back, and every week he had a problem. And I worked for a pretty high up department in the government, and he would only speak to me, only me. And
Hmm.
he had a court order, he had court documents, he went to the minister of the department, and all this was in place before I got there.
Hmm.
And he said to me one day, he was like, I only like to speak to da 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 da. And I'm like, well, you can speak to them all you want, or you can speak to me. I'm
Hmm.
nobody, really, in the whole scheme of things. And he was like, yeah, but you're the only one that doesn't put up with my bullshit.
Hmm.
And that's when my
Hmm.
boss heard this conversation, and I was like, yep, you're right. I am. I said, I have nothing to lose,
Yes.
and he's like, you have all the power over me. He said, because you can tell me that I can't do X, Y, and Z. And I said, I'm not keeping anything from you. I just physically can't do it.
Yes. and that's
And,
and that's very
you know,
unusual for a narcissist to say something like that. Like, you
right.
got me. You got me.
But,
Dead to rights. You
but it
got me.
wasn't completely that. He
Yeah.
didn't want me to know that he got me. He wanted to butter me up enough so he could narcissist me.
Yeah. So he could. Yes.
Right. So he could go, oh, well, you know what? You got me this time.
You
Oh my
got
gosh. And
me.
I'd be like, oh my God, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you can have whatever you want
Y-
now. No, no, that's not the way I work.
Yeah.
I like narcissists and assholes. Assholes are great too because they believe that they're right all the time. So you just disarm them. I'm not a psychologist. I read people's spirits and
Hmm.
I go through that and I know where I can, how I can talk to somebody. Because if a narcissist or an asshole is threatening to do something,
Hmm.
if it's not a violent threat, call them on their bluff. Even if he goes, I'm going to come and I was doing a reading for a lady and her ex-husband, she lived in the same home as him, was a narcissist. And he kept calling her, asking her when she was coming home. Then he let the child in on it. And the
Oh.
child called her and said, Mommy, when are you coming home? And I said, she will be home when she's home.
Hmm.
She'll be home when
Yes.
she's home.
Yes. I've had to deal with
He,
that
he
too. Yes.
was, he had her to the point like riled up and said, you know, you when she coming home? And I spoke to him and I was like, listen, how long did you give her to get here? He goes, 3 hours. I said, and we are an hour into it.
Hmm.
Well, I need to know where she's at. Is she sitting right beside me? I'm talking to her on your phone. I said, so you gave her 3 hours, give her 3 hours. And
Hmm.
then he had the kid call. And she's like sitting there on edge. And I'm like, you're staying 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Hmm.
What is he going to do to you? Like, seriously, what is he going to do? If you told me he was going to be violent, I was like, okay, then we won't call this bluff. We will call the police.
Yes.
And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, he'll just ignore me. And I'm like, okay. So how does it feel to have somebody ignore you like that? Don't you get a little bit of relief from that? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so when she went home, I was still at this place. She's texted me or texted the other lady. And she says, I got home and he had supper made for me and he was sucking up to me because I
Oh,
had stayed beyond the point.
yes.
And
And
I
he's
was like,
he's
see,
looking for that next step up is what he's looking
right.
for.
So he's like, she
Yes.
got this one, I'm getting the next one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that relationship did not last very long. When you
Thank.
learn how to like call their bluff, and that's usually what I do. You're gonna do this to me, or you do, go ahead, okay, okay.
Yeah.
My sister dated a narcissist a long time ago, and he used to tell me he was gonna that's why she stayed with him so long. He was so abusive. He used to say, I'm going to harm your family. I'm going to hurt your family. And my sister was afraid of that. And I said to her, he needs to say that to me
Hmm.
because I'm not afraid of him. And if
Hmm.
I am afraid of him and he tells me he's going to harm me to my face, I'm going to tell every single person that I see, everybody, that if remember this face, because if anything happens to me, that person did it. And I'm
Oh,
going to do that for the
yes.
police.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I've had to deal with a full-on sociopath where, oh, I don't know if I should say this. Let's say people around him were dying.
Yeah.
Yes, people around him, my good friends were dying and couldn't figure out what is this epidemic of suicide. I should really blurb out.
Mhm.
Yeah. What is this all of a sudden? My friends are, and because I did not fall at his feet, call him, you're my good friend, all this stuff. Guess whose fault it was that these people were, it was my fault. And he was making sure that people knew what a horrible person I was. Yeah.
People will choose to believe what they want to believe. And I know that there's narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths. Like I said, I'm not a psychologist. I have no training in mental health. I read spirit. I have a lot of
Yeah.
training in spirits, a lot like that's my forte. And that's how I deal with it. If it gets to the point where it's violent, someone's physically harming emotionally, that's when I step back and I'm like, okay, now it's time for you to call the police or whatever, because I'm not dealing with that. I have been threatened in the past. I've been with a narcissist. I've had every finger
Hmm.
on this hand broken,
Hmm.
one at a time.
Ooh,
I've been
ouch.
punched in my face so badly that that's what my scar is from, that it broke the blood vessels in my face. And I still have a cracked cheekbone for almost 30 years now.
Hmm.
It won't heal.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that comes from a narcissist, somebody that believed I was doing something that I wasn't, sociopath or whatever you want to call him.
Hmm.
And I always said I would have still been with him if he did not leave me.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
was stuck in
See,
there.
I do have I do have training, so I'm a certified counselor. It's
Right
been a
on.
while. I haven't really been well, I should say I have been practicing because I do work at the school, and I sit back and I watch, and I don't have a shingle on the door. Uh, but as far as counseling, I do kind of sit back and I watch. I people watch, not because I'm
Hmm.
interested in what they're wearing, or hey, look at those
Hmm.
shoes and
I
look at
love
this and look.
people watching.
I love people watching because I like to watch the dynamics that that's
Hmm.
going on, and I do like to pull out. And I'm not a clinician, not by any
No.
means. I'm not a clinician, so I'm not going to say, oh, that guy is very psychopathic. I that person over there I know is going to harms. I don't know that, but
Mm.
I sit back and I watch the dynamic, and then I try and guess what the background. Why is this person acting that way? And so I just kind of go and I think, okay, like there's I work at a school as well, and there's one boy in the class, and he's very proud. This is grade one.
Mhm.
He is so proud of the fact that he's the bully. He makes him happy that he's the bully. And
Mhm.
today, I come out of one of the rooms, and he's laughing, and he's like, "Oh, I was to the principal's office twice today." And I peeked in. I said, "That's nothing to be proud of." Are you
Mhm.
kidding? I slapped that kid across the face so hard he cried and all. And I said,
Mhm.
no, that's nothing to be proud of. That's assault, and that can get you in jail later. And so I'm talking with somebody later on, and I know she's heard this phrase before. Negative attention is better than no attention. And so this is
Mhm.
where this boy was coming from. I don't know where I was going with this, but
Mhm.
this is a to me he's I don't see him as being narcissistic, but I could see him as being a situational type of psychopath
Mhm.
where, if you inject him with that attention that he's craving, he could turn it around.
Mhm.
Some of these psychopaths, it's just born right into them. It's and you know I, Actually, I was listening to one of my friends' podcasts last night, and I was in the chat, and she didn't see my question, but um, I wanted to know because they were talking about AI and sociopaths and all the
Mhm.
psychopaths, and this isn't why I brought up the subject of narcissism. That's been on my mind for a while. If there's a way to inject somebody, you take a needle with some fluid and you inject a I know the word sociopath isn't even in the DSM-5 anymore.
No,
It's
it's not.
psychopath.
Mm.
But if you inject somebody with some dopamine, will that turn them around? Is that what they're missing? Just that dopamine to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Because when you are full on psychopath, you just don't get that uh you're harming somebody's person, like they're who
Mm.
they are, which brings us back to what we were first talking about is who are we? Who am I?
Mhm. Who
We
am
have to
I?
decide who we are, not this person and not this person. So if you take the
Mhm.
psychopath according to the DSM-5 and inject them with this liquid dopamine, is that going to be the cure? My goodness, there has to be something that we
So,
can do.
well, what I was going to mention is I think one of the reasons why this bully is so excited and proud of what he does is because he's allowed to do it. When you send that bully back to the classroom, it says that you're okay with what he's done.
Yes.
So if the school would take other measures, and I get it. I work in a school too. I've been through this with the bully. I actually asked the bully what goes through your mind when this happens. And he's like, I don't know. But anyway, having said that, that bully has broken a kid's arm. He's punched a kid in the stomach so bad he's caused them to have ulcers or been panicked so badly. Kids didn't want to go to school. They've changed classrooms because of him. He's beat people's heads off of pavement and he's still allowed back in school
Yeah.
because he's allowed back in school. And
Yes.
that to me, that's the issue. And that's why he's so proud of it. If there was consequences telling him that, you know, I'm going to call your parents and have your parents come in. And even if he has crappy parents or shitty parents or great parents, doesn't matter. That's, you have to find whatever consequence matters to them. Because if you say to them, I'm going to call your parents, and he's like, I don't care, call my mom at work, or my mom is home anyway, call her. She could be the same way. She might not be.
Yeah.
Get her to come up and say, this is what happened. Because what's happening in schools today is that we're getting too many bullies and we're allowing the bullies to get away with it. So when
We're
you let them
allowing
go
it.
back
Yeah.
to the classroom, you're allowing them to re traumatize somebody else. So in our case, the bully had was beaten up again. And then
Mm-hmm.
he retaliated against everybody. And I said, there's two sides to this story. The first side is that everybody got so angry, so upset that he keeps getting away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is that he retaliated. And so now he is being shown that he is a bully again.
Mm-hmm.
But is it nature versus like it blew my mind. So when I was doing my job, the lunch monitoring job last year, and this bully had been like through the roof, he broke the kid's arm or whatever. And then one day, all the kids in the class retaliated against him. They surrounded him. They started making fun of him, calling him names. One little boy was on the playground. He walks over in the middle of all the crowd and he goes, why don't you come over and play with me?
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me. He's like, why don't you come over and play? And I watched this entire event happen. And he's like, okay. And those two went over onto the playground and played together.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them kind of looked at each other and went about their business. And then more and more people went onto the playground, started playing together. And then the bell rang and they went inside.
Yes. And that kid, that tiny little person, that's going to be a world leader.
And so because that little kid was my son,
Oh,
and I
well, there you
watched
go.
him do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him that night, that day when I picked him up at school, I said, why did you do that? And he was like, because at that point in time, they weren't showing him kindness.
And I met your son once.
Mhm.
Once, yeah, and it was brief.
Yeah.
Like we were,
Yeah.
it was an event, and we were very busy, very go go go. Everything
Mhm.
was rushed, and so I just got to meet him in passing, and
Mhm.
saw all the things that he was helping out your mom like crazy.
Mhm. I
He
know.
was doing so much to help at that
Mhm.
event. And what was he, 9 at the time?
He was that
Nine,
9
8
at
or
the
9?
time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, this is a great
Mhm.
kid. I like this kid. And
He's
so
a
what?
really good kid.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
when you're telling me that, I'm thinking this is who we need. People like this is who we need as world leaders. As no, sorry, I shouldn't say world leaders. I should say examples of
Mhm.
what to um, world leaders should go to people like your son and say, how do I do this? And then you
It,
go off and you do your world leading.
like he said, it struck me because when he said that to me, because nobody was being kind to him, and he just kind of wanted to diffuse the situation. Come on over. It didn't matter at that time that that guy was his bully. Didn't
Yeah.
matter. Everybody was retaliating, and I was like, Jesus, we could learn so much from that generation and those
Yeah.
people who are kind. And so I was very, very proud of him, first of all, and I was like proud because that is something that he was
Yes.
taught and it's ingrained to him. And and that bully had never, ever, 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 and even this year, never, ever picked on him, never picks at him, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good.
he does that with others. And it's like that was the moment that I think turned things around for him,
Yeah.
both of them. I'm not saying he's not a bully anymore because he is, but um but he anyway, that's kind
Yeah.
of like
That's
what
a
is going through with bullies because if we let them continue to get away with it, there's no consequences to people's
no,
actions anymore,
no.
right? They go
And
right back into the classroom and do it again.
what I'm finding in that particular class is that there's when I go into the lunchroom with the other EPAs, they'll ask me, "Hey, who are you with today?" Well, I'm with this boy, and they're like, "Oh," and they're exhausted for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Have you noticed that there's one bully in the class, but the rest of the kids that sit around him are so mean, like mean to me?"
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, two boys that I have never met before were just, and a girl, a young girl, so rude and mean to me. And they said, "I hate you more than you'll ever know." And I'm like, "Really? I'm just trying to be nice to you here." The boy I was
Mm-hmm.
working with, he instantly turned on me. The whole class turned on me.
Mm-hmm.
Just instant hate for me, all because of that one boy. It
Yeah.
just
And
infected the whole group. And there
it's
was
it did.
one, yeah, one tiny, just she looks like Cindy Lou Who, this tiny little girl, and
Cute.
she always has her hair up this tight little bun, and she's got the big eyes and the big smile, and she's just like a little, I don't know, like a little pixie.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and gave me two thumbs up. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not being a bad person in.
You
But
know, I said to one of the other lunch monitors today, I said, I'm the worst lunch monitor these kids can have. And I said, if you look, none of them hang around me. They
mhm,
always go to like there's two or three other ones, and there's kids that are just stuck to them like Lou. I'm just standing there by myself.
yes,
And she says that makes you the best lunch monitor. And I'm like, why is that? She says, because you're the one that they don't want to make upset.
yes,
Right.
I
And
stand.
so,
None of the other
yeah.
lunch monitors. If I don't go lunchtime very often. I'm usually in the classroom, but
Mm,
they don't come and stand with me either. The other
no,
monitors.
and I'm okay with the kids not coming to me or whatever. And I let them have a certain amount of freedom
Yep.
and I let them play game. And I say to them, like yesterday, I said, you're playing a game. And this game, I know that your principal will not like let you to play or want you to play. And y'all know that. I'm okay with it until it gets out of control.
Hmm.
Then you can't play it anymore.
Yes.
And so when they kicked the ball, they kicked it over my head. And I said, that's your first mistake. If it happens again, you're not playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen again. And inside the kids were on me about things. And I said, my job is to keep you guys safe. That's my job.
Hmm.
So I can let you go so far and I will treat you all like kings and queens
Hmm.
or whatever you want,
Yeah.
but I'm there to keep you safe.
Yes.
So that's it. That's my job.
Yes. And
That's
again,
first and foremost.
I mean, it all comes back to who am I? Who am
Yeah.
I in the grand scheme of things? Who am I? And
Mm-hmm.
you don't allow other people to come in and say, "This is who you are." Oh, you have
Right.
schizophrenia? That means you are schizophrenic. No,
No.
I'm a human being with this
Mm-hmm.
personality who happens to
Mm-hmm.
have schizophrenia.
That's right. We're
Because
not,
if it,
we label ourselves so much.
yeah,
I'm not just a vegetarian. Well, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm an omnivore.
yeah,
You know, I'm an omnitarian.
hmm,
But yeah, no, I'm just made up a whole new word.
omnitarian.
I'm an
There you go.
omnitarian, and but do I tell people that all the time? Like when you say it's like having letters after your name. So hi, I'm Lori Paul. I am a psychic medium. I'm a vegetarian. I'm a spirit talker. I'm this, or I'm ADHD, severely ADHD.
Okay.
I have
Well,
dyslexia. Like, and you keep going down. This is who I am.
or I
That's
am,
like,
how about this? I am twisted ankle. I am broken arm. I am broken
right.
cheekbone.
You're
No,
more than just that.
you are
When
more than that.
I had a friend one time, she's lesbian. And she said to me, when people introduce her, they always say she's a lesbian.
And who cares what you do from
Always.
the waist down? Really?
Right. And she said, when I introduce her, I'm like, hi, this is my friend, Stephanie.
Exactly.
Right. Because she's
Yeah.
my friend. But others, and I noticed that when they would introduce her, or when they would say, this is my friend Stephanie, she's lesbian. Who gives a fuck?
Shit.
Like, literally.
Really?
But
Yeah.
she said, I'm more than just that. So even
Yes.
when she introduces herself in the crowd, she doesn't tell people. She goes, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's who I am. But do other people need to know that? Do
I
I
mean,
need to justify that?
do you go to a staff meeting and say, these are my pronouns, and
Right.
by the way, this is who I have sex with?
Right. Like
No.
I always say, here's my pronouns. She, her, Nakem.
Hmm.
Nakem is two spirited and Mi'kmaq.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
who I
See,
am.
I don't do the pronouns. I just say my name's Linda. Deal with it.
And I do that because I believe, like, if everyone's showing their pronouns, I'm going to show mine.
Hmm.
But I also believe that it just makes, if that is so important to somebody, then I'm going to abide by that. So if
Hmm.
I see it, if no one's saying anything, if somebody comes out and asks me, I tell them. No one's saying anything, I don't, you
Yeah.
know, say that. But if it's important to somebody else, it becomes important to me too. Like, but I'm not going to voluntarily
I'm not.
label and say
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
yeah, you
I
know,
don't volunteer it.
yeah,
Oh,
and it
excuse me.
doesn't matter. Keanu Reeves said it doesn't matter who you are. He goes, doesn't matter if I date men or if I date women, and it doesn't matter to my acting abilities. So why does it matter what my orientation is, or who I'm married to, or who I'm not married to?
Precisely. Precisely.
Right. So,
Yeah.
unless you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Right. So
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Well,
so that took us off on a long tangent, didn't it?
oh
And
my
that's what
gosh.
people are going to go, oh my God, what a tangent.
Here's us with no topic.
I know, right? We
No
always start with
topic.
like,
Y-
here's a couple of
Um,
topics we want to kind of go into, but
yeah.
it's
I
just
mean,
changing our
we're
perspective.
yeah, exactly. And we're still fairly new at this. I mean, this is what number 3 for us.
Yep.
Was I? Oh, you know what? That very first one, that was kind of embarrassing for me because I forgot I was still on camera. And I'm not even going to remind you when I did while I was
That's
on
all right.
camera. It
I
was
might have
embarrassing. Um,
I might have picked my nose, okay? I'm just saying.
I'm just
Because that's the
saying.
kind of crude
Yeah,
person that I am.
yeah.
I don't
I wasn't
care,
digging. I was just like,
you
hey,
know,
that's a little itchy.
and I have a tendency to do that a lot. It's actually that sign of like
Yeah,
somebody's kind of thinking about you right
thinking
now, and
about, yeah.
I'm looking at myself going, oh my God, and forgetting that I'm
So,
on camera and everybody can see that.
so what I'm, I know we keep going off a little
Mhm.
bit. Whoever is listening, I know we're getting some views. We had 12 views on the last one. If somebody wants to,
Double digits.
please go down below and click that like button and subscribe and then share them, please. It's free. It's totally free to do that.
Yeah.
And
And
comment. We'd love to hear your comments on anything, all these things that we're talking about.
or
See the
if
jazz
there's
hands?
something they want us to talk about, I've been doing this for
Yeah.
like I'm 51 years old.
Hmm.
Okay. I know I might not look 51. I might look a little older. I'm okay with that. But I've been doing this a long time. I don't remember the age because I didn't wake up one day and go, I'm a medium. Like I always
Yes.
tell the story that that's the biggest question that I get asked is, how long have you been a medium for? How long have you been doing this for? And I say, I don't know.
My life.
Because
This is who I am.
when I was younger, 6 or 7 or 8 years old, I thought that I was normal. I had
Hmm.
no idea that nobody else didn't see what I saw.
Hmm.
I would see force fields around people. I would see other people around people. I
Hmm.
would see other things around animals. So I just thought I was normal. Like I thought everybody did it.
Hmm.
And I would notice that other people's force fields would change colors. They would change, like there was these, and that's just normal. I had no idea there was any difference between me and somebody else. No idea. So I didn't pinpoint that. I
Yeah.
didn't pinpoint the fact that there was people that I was talking to when I was talking to myself, my imaginary friends. No idea that nobody else didn't do that or that they didn't exist.
Hmm.
I don't have any idea. So I really couldn't tell that I was different from anyone else. What led me to believe that I was different was the encounter I had with a cat, and I can tell that story in a second. But also when I was talking to people who were, I would say, I want to use the word neurotypical because it's the word, the buzzword now,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, who didn't see that. And I remember watching somebody change their entire demeanor without changing their face. And I was like, did you see?
Oh,
He just
yes.
became angry. Did you see her
Yes.
that force field change color? And they're
Yes.
like, what force field? And I'm like, you don't see it? And they're like,
Yeah.
no,
But
no, they don't.
you know what I'm gonna do? So, I'm gonna save from the cat story.
Hmm.
We're gonna save this for next week so that because the things that we did, and I don't know if I've ever told you my stories from my near death experience stories.
Mm.
Um, Thinking that it's normal. Everybody does this. And then to find out you're the weirdo in the room and you think, hey, yes, I'm the weirdo in the room. This is great. Um,
I didn't do that until I was about 21 years old. I didn't
yeah,
realize that people were different. Like, actually, it's the really
yeah.
world that was different. And the best way I explain it is I always thought that the world was catching on 2 seconds faster than me.
Hmm.
And then I realized that I'm catching on 2 seconds quicker than
Yes.
the rest of the world.
And yes, exactly. Exactly. I thought I was the slow one. So, I mean,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to say this really quick and then we're going to have to wrap it up. Um, Reading a book, I thought, because all the kids in my class, they're reading the book and they're just flipping the pages, and I'm reading one line and then going off and
Hmm.
saying, okay, well that's what that looks like, and hey, yeah,
Squirrel.
and then read squirrel. Yes, there's a squirrel. Um, there's that. But I'm reading this line and then I'm picturing this scene up here of what
Hmm.
this line just told me. Oh, I got to put that on a TV screen and look at it now. Or sometimes I would read two words and then I'd
Hmm.
go back and read those two words, or I'd read the first two or three words of a paragraph and the last two and just sort of fill in the blank on my own,
Hmm.
and then look away and make this movie screen, and then I'd be so exhausted that I'd fall asleep. It's
Yeah.
very rare for me to pick up a book. One of my customers gave me his book that he wrote, and I can't even open it because I know
Hmm.
I'm going to get 2 minutes into it and be out cold because I'm
Yep.
picturing what's going on.
And you're
And
picturing ahead, right?
yes,
That's
yes.
what they now describe as adult ADHD.
Oh,
And that's
okay,
now what
okay.
they describe as like, I have learning disabilities. Like I have three. One is dyslexia, where when I read a page, the
Mhm.
words look funny to me. I have dysgraphia, where the words jump all over the page, or I can read three sentences and have to reread that three sentences 7 times and read it different every time.
Yes.
That's dysgraphia. And it's also about comprehension. So I'm reading, but I'm not comprehending. And I have dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is for numbers. And it was
Y-
funny because I had a 16-year banking career without making one mistake in numbers. Not
Yes.
one. But
So,
yeah.
uh, so I, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, sometimes what I have to do, there's my squirrel again.
You
Some
see?
sometimes what I have to do is I'll put the letters on a yellow screen, like a really pale yellow
Hmm.
screen,
Hmm.
and it just kind of helps me focus on what's on the screen. So next week, do you want to talk about what it's like to be the abnormal kid or the normal
Hmm.
kid? Because
Absolutely. I'd love that.
I know you've got some great stories. Um,
Hmm.
I'm also thinking in the future if you wanted to do some live readings. Let's see if we can
Oh
get
my
some
gosh,
people,
I'd love that.
and we'll do
Because
some live quick mini readings.
it's so, I love that. I have, as you know, because that's what happens to me, is I do right now have spirits coming through to me, but I'm not going to go out and go,
No,
because that's not what this is all about.
yes,
Right. But, and you can see again how the light keeps dimming and fading. And that happens to me all the
yeah,
freaking time.
yes.
But I,
I know.
yeah,
I did have something over to my left here, but that's gone.
if there's anybody that, in below in the comments, if there's anybody that wants to maybe perhaps have a mini reading on live, I would be happy to do that.
Hmm.
Or if there's somebody that you really want to connect with, I will tell you, um, my specialty, and when I say this, people gasp, is suicide. And over the years, I've probably done hundreds of readings, like hundreds, I'm sure. And most of them, not most of them, a large percentage of them are suicides. And those are the spirits that tend to be attracted to my spirit, being
Okay.
able to speak to the, and it's a lot of tragedy that I get. But that's what I've taken on.
Hmm.
That's my, I do all spirits, but it seems to be and I will say my specialty because
Hmm.
they're the ones that are going to come through before anybody else.
This
But
sounds great. This sounds so awesome. So,
so,
like you said, everybody who comes in, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share, please,
mm,
because I love these conversations. They're so dynamic. They're so informative. These are conversations I wish I could have with more people, but
and I love it. I love this is
yeah,
me, and I
yeah,
like you know I can do this without, because there are people who are hate, but
hmm,
you got to let your haters be your motivators, right?
exactly, exactly.
They
And
people are gonna hate.
I'm just noticing I had it on a small screen and I didn't notice that I had this big poof here. Anyway,
I don't even notice either. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
But yes, I
I
think
love
that it's
tech.
time to like, I love
Yeah,
having these conversations, and as we're proceeding through, we're going to get to know each other better. We're going to get to know the subscribers better. We're going to get to know people
absolutely,
better. I
absolutely.
just want to mention that last week I had said that we could expect Trudeau's his
Yes,
resignation to come. It
and
came.
it did. Yes, what, 3 days later?
And Carney as well is making the bid to be that. And yeah, and I just, this is a complete joke, but I will nominate myself as tribute. If you're looking for a new prime minister, I will be whatever sacrificial lamb you want.
Hmm.
I will do that. I am nominating myself as tribute. So if any of the buddy in any party, you can put me up there. It just may not be as glorious as you think it's going to be.
It's not. Yes,
Right.
there's a reason
Because
why they
now
have
that
gray
we
hair.
have, right. And I mean, the whole reason why they got rid of him or wanted to get rid of him, and now they have the other person coming up and they're like, why the heck did we do this?
What did I sign up for?
Careful what you wish for.
Exactly. All right. Thank you
So,
so
all right.
much. This has been
No,
amazing again, and we'll talk next week.
absolutely.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye bye.